Hi, thank you for watching my case presentation. Today I am presenting a 26-year-old female white Caucasian. Family history: her maternal and paternal grandmother both passed away from cancer. Otherwise, siblings, parents, both in good health. My client's desired outcomes were to eat a healthier diet and cook more meals at home. Her antecedents and triggers are that her health feels out of control and her work schedule makes it hard to eat healthfully. She is a waitress. She works mostly evenings, so she's up pretty late. After work is when she kind of takes the time to decompress, connect with friends in her social environment. Usually when she wakes up the next morning from working, she is not hungry, normally skips breakfast, usually doesn't start to eat until midway through her day. And by the time it's afternoon, she's also getting ready to go back to work and start over again. She does receive one meal at work that the restaurant provides for her, but it's not always the healthiest option. She would like to do more cooking at home. She has no medical diagnosis. She is relatively healthy. In 2013, she did suffer from a seizure, but her doctor said that sometimes this happens. It's a rare one-time event. If it happens again, most likely it's epilepsy. Never happened again. Just a crazy fluke. Her height is 5'7". Her weight is 148. Her ideal body weight, based on the calculation, is 135 pounds. Percentage of ideal body weight is 109. Her BMI is 23.3, so she's got a healthy BMI. Waist circumference 29 inches. Her estimated caloric needs are 1,448 calories a day. Recommended protein 53.8 grams a day. Recommended fluid intake is 74 ounces of water a day. Based on analyzing her 3-day food journal, I paid a lot of attention to macronutrients, and then took note of the micronutrients that seemed to be low or somewhat insufficient. After looking at everything, I broke down the macronutrients into their percentage daily value. So for day one, quickly, for a healthy female in her age range, 10 to 35% of your calories want to be coming from protein, 45 to 65% from carbohydrates, 20 to 35% from fat, just to give you a frame of reference. So day one, she consumed 1,754 calories, 28% of those from fat, 43% from carbohydrate, 9% from protein. So significantly under in protein, slightly under in carbohydrate. 20% of her calories are coming from alcohol, and then she consumed only 24% of her recommended total water intake for the day. On day two, she consumed 1,438 calories, 27% of those coming from fat, 22% from carbohydrate, 15% from protein. So she met her protein goal for that day. However, she was significantly under on carbohydrates. 36% of her calories coming from alcohol. Fluid intake was up. She obtained 52% of her recommended amount. Day three, she consumed 1,578 calories, 26% of those from fat, 38% from carbohydrate, 8% from protein. So again, very low on protein. 28% of her calories coming from alcohol, and she consumed 58% of her recommended water intake. Her overall fiber intake is very low. She averages 15 grams a day. It's recommended for her age that she consumes at least 25 grams of fiber a day. She's also low in magnesium, calcium, and potassium. On average, she's good. There were a few days where she was low. She also is low on her essential fatty acids, specifically her omega-3s. Laboratory data, none was done inability to do any lab work. However, from her nutrition-focused physical exam, two things did stick out. She suffers from oily skin, and she also has bumps on the backs of her arms, which are consistent with an omega-3 deficiency or insufficiency. Major system burden that I recognized from her assessment was immune system, sugar handling dysregulation, and job-related stress. So on a scale of 1 to 10, she ranked work as a 4, family as a 3, health as a 2, and life in general as a 3. So overall, low stress, work ranks the highest, so it's something to take note of. The medications and supplements that she's taking are Riclepsin, which is a oral contraceptive. She's also taking a multivitamin and a B12 supplement. Physical activity consists of low intensity, mostly walking her dogs. She does this for about 30 minutes, 5 times a week. So her behavior, beliefs, readiness, ready to change, knows she can improve diet. So we're going to go ahead and move forward with recommendations. The core imbalances that I recognized were neuroendocrine, nutritional status, and energy imbalance. So when it comes to red flags, nothing's stuck out to me as needing immediate medical attention. However, since I am unable to do labs, I'm going to recommend that she does speak to her medical doctor as soon as possible to potentially have her thyroid levels checked. She self-reported feeling cold when others are warm, a lack of a sex drive, poor memory. These are all consistent with some symptoms for hypothyroidism. I think it would be worth it for her to have these checked out. So this leads me then right into the core imbalance that I've chosen. What I identified was the neuroendocrine imbalance, particularly her thyroid. Again, unable to test thyroid levels, but based on looking at her overall assessment, it appears that she may have a bit of dysregulation. She's self-reporting symptoms of lack of sex drive, poor memory, feeling cold when others are warm. These are all possible symptoms of hypothyroidism. The nutrition-focused physical exam also presented a possible omega-3 deficiency. Omega-3 deficiency can present as poor memory. When someone has adequate intake of omega-3s, it can protect against any symptoms of hypothyroidism. It can protect the thyroid gland. So this is also sort of a red flag, something to take note of. For my particular client, I did put that she was at nutritional risk. She is presenting symptoms of a possible thyroid imbalance. She is showing signs of stress related to her job, which could then compromise her immune system. She does self-report getting a cold every winter. Sugar dysregulation was also something that was apparent in her assessment. She commented that she needed sweets to stay alert during the day, and that she also craves sweets and simple carbohydrates. She does experience low blood sugar symptoms when meals are skipped. As I said before, she has a bit of a deficiency or insufficiency in omega-3s, as shown from her 3-day food journal and her nutrition-focused physical exam, which presented oily skin and bumps on the back of the arms. So my PES statement is inadequate protein intake related to neuroendocrine imbalance, specifically potential thyroid burden, as evidenced by low intake of protein recorded in 3-day food journal as 9%, 15%, and 8% of daily caloric intake. The healthy range is between 10 and 35%. And self-reported symptoms of poor memory, loss of sex drive, and feeling cold in her limbs. So my overall expected outcome goals are to improve thyroid system burden, improve overall dietary status by meeting estimated energy needs for calories, protein, and fat, especially essential fatty acids, such as omega-3s. The recommended intake is 1.1 grams a day if we want to get her to that level, and also make sure that she's getting enough carbohydrates, good carbohydrates. Another goal is to improve her sugar dysregulation. So my client's goal was to eat healthier and cook more meals. By meeting these estimated energy requirements for protein, fat, and carbohydrates, this will improve overall diet and health. I'd also like to increase her fiber as well. So my short-term goal is to increase her daily protein intake to meet estimated needs. So that recommendation is 53.8 grams a day or 215.2 kcals a day. I'd also suggest that we increase her water intake to 74 ounces a day and decrease alcohol consumption to 2 to 3 drinks a week. I chose these goals because it relates to the client's initial desire to work with me, which was to eat healthier and cook more meals. Her 3-day diet journal showed that she was nutritionally at risk for poor protein intake, that water consumption was low, and a large majority of her calories were coming from alcohol. So I think that by focusing on these goals, she will begin to crave less sweets and simple carbohydrates, and we may also see an improvement in her thyroid system's burden. So short-term intervention that will meet these goals. So the two that I thought we would need to tackle immediately were to increase protein intake to 53.8 grams a day, and to work on eating a high-protein breakfast 3 to 4 times a week, eventually eating it every day. The evidence for this recommendation comes from the required protein intake calculation and the idea that by eating a high-protein breakfast, you set up the rest of your day to make good choices regarding the foods you pick. You're less likely to crave sugary foods because you're fueling with good protein that keeps you satiated longer. And this will also help account for a large portion of her recommended daily protein requirement. So the next visit that I would recommend for her would be between 2 weeks and a month. And really just the goal of this follow-up is to reassess, but mostly it's to make sure that the interventions are being followed, address any questions or concerns that she might be having. If things are going well, if she's able to meet these interventions, then we would take on a couple more. So the next thing that I would suggest is decreasing alcohol intake to 2 to 3 times a week, increasing fiber to at least 25 grams a day, and making sure that these things are done to overall benefit her immune system, gut health, mental health, specifically for the fiber. Decreasing the alcohol, I think, will allow for a little bit more room of some other healthy foods in her diet. So this is my case presentation. Thank you so much for taking a look, and have a great evening.